Well, welcome once again to this edition of the Cow Report, edition number 3476, coming to you live from the beautiful downtown L.E. Phillips Memorial Library and Taco Stand. And of course, with me, as usual, is my rusty, trusty sidekick, Fred, the Truth Stafford.
Hello there, Chuck. The Truth Lee.
Boy, isn't he original? Glad to see you again, Freddie. Boy, it's
Yeah.
been a long time since I've seen you. How's everything going out on the south side?
Well, it's going all right there. We had a little warm weather there and even a little rain.
Yeah, which?
We had
did
both.
you have?
We had both.
Okay.
Lots of warm weather.
Yeah, I heard it's been warm the last week.
You bet.
Okay. Well, Freddie, this is June the 26th, 1995. And we're glad you could be with us again, Fred. I'm glad you got over all that coughing and everything, all those problems you're having, and you're looking in the pink of health, Fred.
I didn't really get over it, though.
It looks like you're in the pink of health, Fred.
Yes, there.
And,
I wish.
well, for your age, Fred, if you consider the alternative, you ever think of that?
Yes.
There's people half your age sitting in nursing homes who can't even spell their own name anymore.
I know.
Senility and
I know people.
premature old age.
I've had friends die at 44 and 48, 54.
I'll tell you, Fred, this country is on a one-way road to poisoning itself with the food and liquids they drink.
Yes.
It's amazing how much the health of this country has deteriorated in the last 50 years.
Do you want me to show the back that I have there?
What do you got here? You got some, well, here's color-coordinated Fred standing up and showing off his T-shirt. Now, you got those suspenders in the way, but it says something about coming together, and it's World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, etc. Now, is this a new monument over at the high ground, or what?
No. No.
Oh, this is the POW.
I won this at a VFW county or district meeting.
Well, that was good, Freddie. Would you win that down at the bingo parlor there, or what?
No, they have a raffle, and I was one of the winners of the raffle.
Well, Freddie, you know on this show, we're sponsored by the wonderful World of Flavin and the fine folks at the Flavin Pop Company.
What is Flavin?
And you know, I haven't sang the jingle for quite a while.
I know you haven't sang it, and you might as well not.
Well, we have to give our due to these people, Fred, because they've kept the show on the air.
Yeah.
Kept the show on for, what, 25 years now?
Did they pay your membership fee to do it?
They underwrite this program, Fred.
Oh.
So we better sing the jingle.
I would like to see how they underwrite it.
Now, would you like to sing along with me, or are you going to complain?
I think that's a figment of your imagination.
Are you going to sing along with me, or are you going to complain about everything? I guess I'll sing it along.
Coca-Cola.
Okay, Freddie.
Coca-Cola.
You can sing that junk on your show. Okay. Flavin' Pop, Flavin' Pop. I don't drink slop. Drink Flavin' Pop. The drinking man's drink.
And if he drinks that, he won't think very much, I'll tell you that.
Well, you know, I noticed that. Some people that drank it didn't think much of you after they drank it.
I know.
It's a thinking man's drink.
Who, for example, drank it?
Well, you can talk to Roy Rogers Hoff. He's been drinking it now
He hasn't been drinking. He wouldn't drink that stuff.
For 20, 25 years now.
Every time he goes someplace, he drinks a Coke or he drinks Pepsi.
Okay, let's see how smart you are then, since you haven't been drinking it. We'll just test your intelligence right here on the Cow Report, Fred.
Yeah.
On this date, June 26, 1945, United Nations Charter is signed by 50 nations. What was the name of that organization?
United Nations, of course.
All right.
The biggest farce that was ever created, and all you have to do is look where they've been, whether it's been Somalia or Bosnia, they botched things up.
Okay, Freddie. Well, you know, Freddie, there's some hijinks going on, and things are heating up out there in the Whitewater and Vince Foster hearings on June 20th. The editorial of the Investors Business Daily, which is a national business newspaper daily, comes out to about a couple 100,000 readers. Some say it's better than the Wall Street Journal. They came out and said the odd death of Vince Foster was the name of the editorial. And they're delving into some of the problems with the official version of the Vince Foster death. And it could very well be the highest, or the highest official assassinated within the federal government in many years, Fred.
Yes.
Could very well be a hit. Because on the day that he died, several people from Washington called Little Rock, Arkansas, and made the statement that Vince Foster committed suicide in the parking lot of the White House. Well, then the official version came out 18 hours later or something like that, that he was found in a park.
Yes.
But he'd been, it was a muddy road that he'd had to drive down to get to this, by this cannon where he committed suicide.
Yes.
And when they lifted up his shoes, Fred, there wasn't one speck of mud or dust on the bottom of his shoes.
Well, he might have been walking on thin air there.
And not only that, Fred, he was laid out like he was at the funeral parlor for a wake, for an Irish wake.
And did he have the gun in the right hand or the left hand?
Yes, he had it in the right hand, didn't he? But
And he's left-handed?
he had his thumb in the
Well,
part where you pull the trigger. Well, anyway, Freddie, not only that, his head was uphill higher than his feet. But when they did the autopsy, this dried blood they found on him was trickling upward. And the blood coming out of his nose was going up towards his eye, and the blood coming out of his mouth was going up towards his nose, even though his head was higher than his feet when they found him. So that indicates that not only was he laid out like he'd been in a funeral parlor, but also that blood defies gravity and goes uphill.
Well, some of the people in the Clinton administration, their blood might run the opposite of the normal people.
I know, it might go counterclockwise.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so then, Freddie, they also found these carpet particles all over his body.
Carpet particles?
Yeah, like he'd been wrapped in a carpet, rolled up in a carpet, thrown in the back of a car, and drove out to there and dumped. And then to top it all off, Fred, Hillary Clinton's people went into his office and ransacked it, took all the papers and put them in the closet up in the White House of her bedroom. Isn't that amazing? Well, Webster Hubbell pled guilty to his chicanery in the Whitewater investigation, and he supposedly has made copies of all his papers. Hillary thought she shredded them all, but Hubbell is supposedly starting to trickle those to the Star, to Kenneth Starr, the special prosecutor in this case. And the word seems to be coming out, Fred, that the next people in line to be indicted will be Hillary Clinton and possibly the president and Janet Reno. And this is coming through the D.C. runaway federal grand jury has already indicted, considered, mentioned, or decided to vote a true bill. Indictments against the following, amongst others, William Jefferson Clinton, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Janet Reno, and the current head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as well as key other agents and officials of the Bureau.
That's interesting.
But they're saying now that this grand jury could be a runaway grand jury instead of focusing on this narrow path that Kenneth Starr and Fisk, the guy before him, who actually should have pronounced his name Fix because he tried to put in the fix to cover up everything. Well, he was booted out of there, but he hid enough information that all it did was stall the indictment. So now the big problem is, Fred, is we got to pray that Senator Alphonse D'Amato is not murdered before he can start those Senate hearings on Whitewater, because he has pertinent information and information that could pull down the presidency. Now, Fred, to top all this off,
Amen.
reliable sources informed this reporter in Chicago that gave me this information. The Democratic leaders have talked to Clinton and demanded that Clinton resign by July 29th. These same sources say that Clinton will resign.
Hmm. I can't see him doing that.
Well, it's getting hotter than we think it is, Freddie.
No.
It's getting closer to those hearings.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have that, Freddie. Now, well, you know, on the presidential scene, Freddie, there's a lot of people out there running. There's 9 Republicans, 1 Democrat so far, Clinton, until they can find a replacement
There's
for him.
another one now being announced, a congressman.
Who's that?
Just announced on the 700 Club today. And I can't remember his name now.
Well, Wilson was the
I
last
think he's
one.
from Texas.
Barton?
No,
Joe
no.
Barton?
No.
Smith?
No. I don't know why I'm thinking of Taylor, but that may be not it.
Oh, I know who it could be. Maybe that guy that's, yeah, all right. Well, anyway, Harlan Specter's running for president, Fred.
He is?
And, you know, he was
What's he running for?
and he was one of the people that was involved in the Kennedy assassination Warren report. He was a young lawyer
Mm-hmm.
that helped fabricate this pristine bullet theory back in 1964, about 31 years ago. Anyway, he sent me a fundraising letter, and with it he put in a news clip, and they're attacking Newt Gingrich and Ralph Reed in the news clip. And, you know, they made these up by the hundreds of thousands, Fred, but they make it appear like it came out of today's newspaper.
Yeah.
And then, he also, not only does he want money, but he sent me a special reply memorandum, and he wants me to send a letter to Robert Dole and Mr. Gingrich, and he even signed my name to it. Dear Senator Dole, I urge you to oppose the Christian Coalition's contract for America because it restricts a woman's right to choose and it mixes religion and politics. The affairs of church and state should be separate, as the U.S. Constitution requires. Congress should stay focused on cutting wasteful spending, lowering taxes, and creating jobs and economic growth. Sincerely, Charles E. Lee. He even signed my name for me. Now he wants me to send one of those to both houses. And then he's got a 2-page letter here, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the first 2 sentences of it. The religious right has put their agenda before the U.S. Congress. Will you help me stop them? You know, he's going to be lucky if he gets 1% of the vote, Fred. The people out there belly aching that they're being attacked by Christians all the time, and then all Specter does is attack Christians in every letter I get from him.
Mm.
And you know the sad thing is, Fred, I gave this guy money.
Well, I don't know why you did that, but
Okay, Freddie. On this date, June 28th, the date we all remember
no, it's
well.
not June 28th. It's June 26th, isn't it?
Okay, June 28th, Fred. Now, what I'm going to be reading.
This is June the 26th.
Okay, close enough. 1914. This week, Fred. This event sparked World War I. The Archduke Ferdinand of Austria is assassinated in Yugoslavia, which just happens to be, I think it was in Sarajevo, which is right in the middle of Bosnia, where all the trouble is. Sarajevo is being shelled right as we speak. Yesterday, several school children were killed. It was a gruesome sight. They showed it on CNN. But 1914, June 28th, the Archduke Ferdinand of Austria is assassinated in Yugoslavia. The spark that will set off World War I. What was the name of the Archduke of Austria?
You just named it.
Want me to read it again?
Yeah.
June 28, 1914. The Archduke Ferdinand of Austria is assassinated in
The
Yugoslavia.
Archduke Ferdinand.
The spark that will set off World War I. What city in Bosnia was that?
Sarajevo?
All right. Sarajevo, Fred. Didn't they have the Olympics there one year?
I don't think so.
Winter Olympics, Sarajevo. Beautiful little town nestled in a valley there. Now it's ringed by Serbian butchers shooting bombs down in there, just about 24 hours a day. And of course, those Serbians are supposedly former communists, Fred. But there's
Yes.
nothing former about it. They're the same butchers they were before the so-called breakup of Eastern Europe. Okay, Freddie. Well, you know, Freddie, over the weekend, we had some news about a local politician getting in trouble again. And, you know, after the third or fourth time he was arrested, there was some talk about him being expelled from the state assembly. I'm talking about State Representative Dave Plombaum from the 68th Assembly District, which is kind of north of the river right here, and then all the way up into Chippewa, and then east over to Cadott and Stanley in that area. Well, Freddie says here in the Milwaukee Journal that he was seen drinking in a bar down in Madison. Of course, the Leader Telegram has been a little more conservative on that issue, and they said that they're investigating it, and supposedly now in today's paper there was a report that a urinalysis was taken. And if they'd have passed my bill down there, Fred, that I've been pushing now for 6 months, if it had passed the bill where all elected officials and all state employees, federal, state, and county employees have to have random drug and alcohol tests from time to time. If they'd have passed that, they'd have nailed him a long time ago. But anyway, Fred, so he was supposedly seen drinking in a bar in Madison, so the local probation department arrested him and put him back in jail, and there he sits till today, and they don't know exactly what they're going to do with him. But you know, Fred, over the weekend, I was thinking, you know, alcoholism is a insidious disease, Fred, and it comes to the forefront of everything else. And it becomes number one in your life, and your life kind of centers around booze, getting it, drinking it, getting a hangover, getting sober, and then starting it all over again. And so, in a way, Fred, we don't come here today to destroy Plombaum, and we don't come here to praise him. We just come here today asking that he hopefully will get into some real treatment now, and not the little fancy dog and pony show of the last arrest, and then he'll get into a 30-day treatment, because you can't stop a 10, 15, 20-year problem in 7 days. So hopefully he'll go for treatment this time, Fred.
Is that today's paper?
Yeah, attorney says Plombaum didn't do anything wrong. This is coming to you right out of, Fred, the Leader Ichabod, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, June 26th, Monday. Attorney says, they got a little white on there, but anyway, it's on the corner of the front page. But Fred, it still smacks of arrogance here. Plombaum's been arrogant because alcoholics that will not admit they have a problem are arrogant, and they're in denial big time. And this denial is still working, sitting right there in the jail cell, still denying it. It's an insidious disease, Fred. It'll take everything away from you, up to and including your life.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Freddie. So do you have any comments on that?
Well, I think that they ought to do something to help the guy, see that he does get the treatment that he needs.
Yeah. Suppose you're right, Fred. I never thought of it like that. But. Okay, Freddie. We're going to take a call now. We've had people waiting on the phone for 20 minutes, and then we're going to get back to your brief statement from John, the Truth Stormer.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Fred, you're a fucking fish.
Boy, that guy. You know, Fred, there's another fine example of what OBE is doing for this community. Outcome-based education. It teaches a young man how to swear perfectly well and how to put on a condom, but they can't make change down at McDonald's. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
One of the fine, outstanding examples of OBE at work in our fair community, Fred. And all at the price of only $8,000 per student. Your public schools at work.
Well, maybe we need to spend more money,
Yeah, maybe.
teach them something else.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Chuck, I couldn't help but notice in your shirt there, is that America Online you have there, or
What's that?
is that an America Online shirt you have on?
Yes.
Who wants to know?
Me. I was just wondering what format you're using there, because, you talk on the internet a lot, or,
Format.
what format of America Online, using the GPX format, or what you using there? For your compatible PC or something like that, or your Flav and Pop, or?
Yeah, look for me.
I made it a long way back from here, and I seen your hat coming from the store away, and I don't know where I came from, but I know that you're drinking that Flav and Pop. And I think you're wasting the airtime, because if you're just going to talk about other people, but I knew that you told me once on your TV show that you used to be on drugs and stuff like that, and then you kind of want to pass that bill and everything, but if you got in there, yeah, those drugs would show up in you, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Freddie.
Yes.
All right, what do you got there from John the Truth Stormer?
Well,
Is he any relation to Fred the Truth Stafford?
no.
Okay.
It's from the publication Understanding the Times, which is, the author is John Stormer. And in March '87, I spent a day at the Pentagon. A small group of conservatives was given a high-level briefing on the defense capabilities and needs. At one point, somebody in the group asked a two-star general, "Sir, if our early morning radar system detected a ballistic missile coming over the North Pole, what defense do we have?" General paused, shuffling nervously, looked at the floor and ceiling, then, looking at the audience, he said, "We could pray."
Are you with us, Roy?
Then he added, "I'm not ridiculing the importance of prayer in any way, but you must realize that prayer is our only defense against a ballistic missile attack at this point." And in 1993, the same is true. In other words, we don't have a missile defense system.
So, taking all those words, Fred, and boiling it down to two sentences, what does all that mean?
Well, I think we ought to let our congressmen and our senators know that we want the defense.
Defense of what?
The missile defense system.
Oh, that Star Wars thing?
Yes.
Fred, that thing's been dead for years.
Well, that doesn't mean that it can't be enlivened, because we don't have it. And what Mr. Clinton has recently done, he signed with Mr. Yeltsin a ballistic missile agreement verifying, and it's re-endorsed, the anti-ballistic missile treatment of 72. For 23 years, it's kept us from testing anything. And while Soviet Russia's gone ahead and tested whenever they wanted to.
Oh, okay. Well, Freddie, I hate to tell you, Fred, but the Russians already control the space. While we were shooting up these satellites so that we could get better TV reception, the Russians were putting up laser beams and particle beams and everything else. And at any given time, they could knock out all of our satellites, all of our communications. So you better get with it, Fred. We've already lost the race for space.
I read in a publication that came out of, I don't know if it was Wauwatosa or over there, close to Wauwatosa, and there was a woman, Ginny, somebody who published that paper, or had it published, with one of the members of the Kennedy administration formerly, saying that the Russians had accomplished quite a bit in outer space and could destroy our satellites, etc., at any time.
That's right, Fred.
And this is several years ago.
That's what I just said. Okay, Fred, here's a Leader telegram from Saturday, June 24th, 1994. And Fred, I thought we'd destroyed this tobacco monster on the I thought the
No.
Leader telegram had finally given up on
No.
trying to make money off cancer and other people's lung problems and people's addiction to tobacco. You got a close-up of that any time now, Roy. There you go. Okay, well, anyway, it's a Swisher Sweets cigar ad there in Saturday, June 24th, Leader Telegram. It says taste, satisfaction, and quality, and it's not a cigarette. But I don't see any warning on there anywhere about tobacco being harmful. Nowhere in the ad, Fred. I'll tell you, if you inhale these things, it won't take you long to get cancer. Swisher Sweets. Leader Telegram, back to their old tricks, Fred, trying to make a buck off the misery of people addicted to tobacco. It's kind of like the old saying in the Bible, Fred. You can put a pig at the table and give him a shower and put him in a tuxedo and feed him steak. But you know what happens as soon as he gets away from the table? He goes back to wallowing in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Fred. You know, you've been doing a pretty good job today about getting these right, so I'm going to hit you up with one more, Fred. Okay, yesterday's date, June 25th, 1962. Now, that ought to be just like yesterday for you. It's only 33 years ago.
Yes.
What happened on this date? June 25th, 1962.
Is that when the war ended in Europe?
What war?
World War II.
1962?
Oh, 62, no. Could be that was when we sent the first advisors over to Vietnam.
Actually, reading of prayers in public schools is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, June 25th, 1962. What court did that go before?
Supreme Court.
That's right. Okay, Freddie, what do you got there?
Well, got another interesting article in this Understanding the Times May issue, 1995. 10 days ago, I had the opportunity of visiting Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Interior, James Watt, and his wife, Leilani. Jim Watt, a committed Christian, dedicated and knowledgeable conservative, is the target of one of the special federal prosecutors who have unlimited resources and time to which to chase their quarry. Defending himself can cost Jim Watt his home, his retirement assets, and good name. That's assuming he wins. If a liberal junior in Washington, D.C., that's where all they have there, should convict him, he could spend the rest of his life in jail.
When's that going to trial?
Doesn't say here.
Well, Freddie, in this issue of the June 25th issue of the Washington Times National Weekly Edition, experts to review foster death. Henry C. Lee, a noted forensic scientist, said he has been asked by Whitewater prosecutors to review the July 93 death of White House Deputy Counsel Vince Foster. Mr. Lee, head of the Connecticut State Police Crime Laboratory and an expert witness in several noteworthy trials, said he met with prosecutors last month in Washington to discuss a possible re-examination of earlier findings that determined Mr. Foster's death was a suicide. Fred, they're closing in.
Good.
And then, of course, you know the governor of Arkansas just got nailed, too. He was indicted. We broke that here right on this program probably a month before it was announced. Supposedly out of that same bunch of indictments from Little Rock, Arkansas, Hillary Rodham Clinton was indicted, too, but it's still sealed. Well, Freddie, you know, Milwaukee Sentinel had an editorial on a cruel blow to campaign finance funds. And it appears the Republicans down there in Madison are trying to stop campaign finance fund reform. Okay, I don't know if we got any calls on there or not, but we should see. Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Sorry about that. We didn't get the message in here. These studios are so vast that sometimes we don't get the message. The letters are hand carried to me by people from the staff upstairs, and sometimes it takes a while to get
But yeah, I
done.
don't care. Last Monday you said that you do this program that covers things in the Leader Telegram and News Center 13 don't.
Yes.
Why do you have a Leader Telegram in front of your face?
How do you think we can compare with what they do and don't put out there? We have to read it to see if they're on top of
You a little
it.
hypocritical?
Not at all. Fred, there's another fine example of the public school education here in Eau Claire. If you can't find fault with it, then attack the person that's bringing the news to you, Fred.
I see here in the Wanderer, Catholic lay paper from St. Paul,
Are you going to read this article, or are you going to sell the paper?
Pat Buchanan romps to landslide victory in Virginia straw poll. And he received 6 Senator Dole sample polls in recent months, received 642, 59% of the votes cast at Sheraton Hotel during the event sponsored by the Republican Party of Virginia. Former Reagan staff administrator got 11 and 45/100%. Phil Graham in third place with 8 4/10%, just ahead of Senator Richard Lugar.
Okay. What does that all mean, Fred? You don't have to
Well,
read all that junk.
You read your stuff there, and I don't complain about it, so I think I can read
What's the
mine.
gist of it?
He's ahead.
Well, why don't you say that to begin with?
Buchanan, that's what I'm trying to do.
I wonder why you're pushing him anyway.
He's a good man.
Okay, Freddie, well, we're going to talk about the other ones that are running besides him. Now, Phil Graham, Bob Dole, Arnold Spector, and Dick Lugar. Pat Buchanan says they're what? Leap year Republican conservative.
Yeah.
Republican conservative. Okay, well, according to Howard Phillips' Issues and Strategy Bulletin, June 15th, 1995, not one of those 4, Graham, Dole, Spector, or Lugar, voted for the right to keep and bear arms. In other words, they voted to restrict your right, Fred. None of them opposed the passage of the Brady Bill on November 22nd, 93. None of them opposed the so-called hate crimes bill. None of them opposed the so-called Clean Air Act amendment. None of them opposed the so-called Civil Rights Act amendment of 91, which put the burden of proof on small business people to just demonstrate that the composition of their workforce comports with the demography of the area in which their business operates. None of them opposed the Americans with Disabilities Act, which requires that you hire AIDS-infected homosexuals for food handling positions. They all supported the New World Order, Freddie. They all supported the assignment of U.S. troops under foreign command. They all supported the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, which gives the United Nations a claim of authority over domestic decision-making in the United States. And if they're pro-life, Fred, why did they vote for Souter, Ginsburg, and Planned Parenthood getting federal funds? I rest my case.
Good.
All right, we're going to take a call, Fred, and then we'll get back to that newspaper you're selling. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah? Well, he was wondering, Fred, but he never got around to what he's wondering about. Before we go to your next issue there, Fred, you know we got this package in the mail on last Monday's show, and we were afraid to open it on the air because you said that it might have something offensive in it or maybe a bomb or something.
I didn't say that.
So, and we thought about sending it down to the FBI. It's one of those ones where the letters are printed, Fred, you know, instead of written, and kind of that kind of paper, and kind of looks like it could be a something unusual, Freddie. So we gave it to the bomb expert after the show, Roy Rogers Hoff, and we had him open it. It was addressed down here to PAC TV to the Cow Report. And Fred, so we opened it, and you know what was in there? A beautiful shirt and tie.
I'm sure glad that somebody gave you one of those, and maybe you can wear one of them one of these days on the show.
Now, you know, Freddie, it's a real nice shirt, and it's the only thing that
What
we need.
brand?
We need, it's John Henry, Tall Man's Collection.
John
It's
Henry.
a fitted shirt. The only thing is if the person that sent it could send me a postcard and tell me where they got it so I could get it just a tad bigger. The collar's just a little tight on me.
Why don't you go on a diet there, and then you wouldn't have to get a bigger one.
And you know what they said, Fred? Keep up the good work. And if you can just shut up that loudmouth Fred, everything will be fine on the show.
It doesn't say
Thanks.
that at all.
Okay, Freddie. Now, I get a little article here from what's called the Criminal Politics. It comes out, this is a May 1995 issue. And if we got a call on there, well, I don't know if we're doing that, we're going to check. Are you there, caller?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Freddie looks pretty sharp today.
Well, yeah, for 95 years old, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I wish he'd keep that junk out of his mouth when he's talking, though.
Yeah, he's pretty feisty there
He
sometimes.
fills his mouth up with them sugar gumdrops, and then he wonders why he can't speak English.
Oh, he's doing a good job. I appreciate your program. I bet you guys got every liberal in town listening to you guys.
Well, we hope so. We're trying to educate as many as we can here before the end times.
The grapevine talk is you got more liberals listening than you do conservatives right now. You guys keep it up, you're going to be as popular as Rush Limbaugh.
Well, see, the conservatives have been sucking up to the liberals of the party, trying to push in this new world order and all this liberalism, and that's why people like Howard Phillips and Pat Buchanan says they're leap year conservatives. Howard Phillips says they're with inflation, there ain't much more than a nickel's worth of difference between the Republicans and Democrats. So we speak to all sides here, and this is the only program in the greater Chippewa Valley where you can get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you, Fred.
I appreciate some of the things you do have on. You blow the whistle on quite a few things in our community. One thing I'd like to bring to your attention is, do you know up in our county jail that we've got people, young boys, sleeping on the floor up there? One of them happens to be a nephew of mine, so I know it's true. And I was going up to see him, and lo and behold, here is one of the convicts got one of the pornographic magazines that he's taken in there, so it's a pretty good place to be, I guess, to some extent, if you want to look at porno. So,
Well, you're saying they're sleeping on the floor up there. It must be pretty overcrowded there at that county jail.
well, he told me he's in a cell for 5, and they've got 8 people within him, and he's sleeping on the floor. So maybe you guys can blow the whistle on that and get a little more information on maybe we're pretty overcrowded there. I don't know what's going on.
Well, if there's 8 in his cell, that means that all the other cells are full, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I kind of thought it's kind of hard sleeping on a concrete floor.
What did he say about the personal conditions? How do they get along in there? Is there any fights or anything?
Well, I guess he was telling me first time he went in was about a week or so ago, and the following night he got beat up, so
By a guard or a prisoner?
another prisoner, I guess. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, if you guys could do a little checking out on that and get back to us on your program, it's nice to blow the whistle on that, clean that up. I mean, I'm for law and order, and I believe in all that, and maybe we are too soft on some of these people, but I don't know. It just kind of bothered me that he was sleeping on the floor.
Yeah, I would think that would be illegal. And you know, caller, I talked to Lorraine Lee a little about that once before, and they say their hands are tied, they can't do anything. But see, the county is taking in these prisoners from other counties and from the state because they make a few bucks off of it, and that's too bad because that county jail, Fred, was built for the prisoners of Eau Claire County first and foremost, and anybody else should have to wait in line to come in.
Yeah.
You got to take care of law and order here, and he's saying that people are getting beat up in there. Pornography is rampant.
Hey, you know,
I've heard from we had other calls on the show where the guy said the bathrooms are deplorably dirty and there's fungus and stuff in there, and we've heard from other people that there's the stronger prisoners are preying on the weaker prisoners for homosexual favors, and for some of them are smuggling in drugs undetected by the guards. They better start investigating that mess down there, Freddie, because it's getting out of hand.
well, something that is interesting, down in La Crosse County, they can't bring pornography into their jail, and up in Chippewa county, they can't do that either. But here they can.
And here they got behavior problems.
Huh.
Well, you know, somebody sitting there 6, 8 months, all they do is reading all these magazines, sex magazines day and night. They're revved up and ready to go when they get out, Fred. They're going to rape the first
Right.
thing with 2 legs when they get out of there.
And like there was one man who got out of there, and he went and attacked a woman in her 70 years of age, tied her husband up first, and then attacked her.
Thanks for calling, caller.
That was a year or more ago.
Well, Freddie, they think that they're allowing the prisoners to let off steam by letting them read that stuff, but all it's doing is creating more problems.
Right.
But perhaps the county board will delve into that. You know,
Sure.
that's the second call we've had this year on that problem. So hopefully they'll get in there and do something and make sure that Eau Claire's prisoners are taken care of before outsiders are taken care of.
No, I have also in the Wanderer from St. Paul. FBI investigates woman who prays for a Toledo abortionist. Last month, Pauline Guideman heard a knock on her door, saw 2 men standing there. She thought she was having a visit from some Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses. Imagine her surprise when the 32-year-old homemaker, mother of 4 children, let the men into a house and they flashed the FBI identification cards. And they came because she had written 3 letters to the abortionist to let them know that she was going to pray for them.
So they were going to arrest her on RICO or what?
No, they just came and talked to her and told her that she better not be involved in anything that's illegal, you know.
Yeah.
Go down, picket or something like that.
Huh, I thought that was a free speech. I thought there was free rights of all citizens under the First Amendment.
That's right.
Well, you know, that's too bad, Freddie. But we have a call on line 1 we want to get to. But Fred, I'm going to read the contract with the American Family that Christian Coalition came out with. Newt Gingrich pushed his contract with America and made a big deal out of it, and the dust and the smoke cleared, and you know, it was mostly bells and whistles and a lot of hot air. But here are the contract highlights of the contract with the American Family, Fred. Number 1 is restoring religious equality. 2 is returning educational control to communities. 3 is promoting school choice. 4, protecting parents' rights and defeating the UN Convention on the Rights of the Children. 5 is restoring tax equity to families by eliminating the marriage penalty and revising the tax code to treat mothers and homemakers fairly. 6 is protecting human life by banning DNX abortion, restricting late-term abortions, ending federal abortion funding, and ending requirements for state-funded abortions. Encouraging support for private charities, restricting pornography by protecting children from computer and cable television pornography, privatizing culture by requiring the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities to subsist only on voluntary donations. And last but not least, Fred, punishing criminals, not victims, by requiring criminals to pay restitution to their victims prior to release from prison. So there you have it, Freddie. Now that one's got some meat in it. Let's
Yes.
see if Newt Gingrich crawls back in his liberal hole when he reads those. Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Thank you. I recently learned that you were charged with breaking and entering the Laufenberg headquarters at the time of the special election in '93. Could we get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help us, Fred, on that, please.
Well, you're the one that's bringing it up, so let's get these so-called...
I'd like to know. I just heard about it.
You heard about it where?
I just heard about it from some friends here.
From communist headquarters or what?
Oh, no. I mean, like local media, you know, uncovered your drug stuff, and you had to go public with that. Maybe this will happen with the Laufenberg thing.
The local media
Mm-hmm.
says that I broke into
No, I'm not saying that.
Laufenberg's headquarters.
I'm saying is like the incidents where you were selling drugs. They got wind of it, and you were forced to go public with a press conference. Is this what's going to happen with this Laufenberg thing?
Well, you don't have your facts straight on any of it.
Well, that's what I'm. Can you please set us straight then?
Who's us?
The public, John Q. Public.
And what's the name of your group?
I'm not. I'm
Communist Youth League or what?
I'm an individual.
Where do you get these?
Do I have to be associated with
Where
it?
do you get these so-called facts that you're trying
Does
to
it matter? I
bring?
just like to hear the truth. Here's an opportunity, but give us
Well,
the truth.
I'll tell you, caller. I don't have to talk about it because it's false, and you're just making that up to try and
I'm
discredit.
not making it up.
Well, then let's have some facts, figures, and names.
I think you'd probably be the best person to give us the facts.
Well, you
Maybe.
evidently got them independent of me, so let's have these facts and figures.
I'd like to hear it from you. You're the primary source, I would think, on this issue.
Well, no, you're the one that brought it up that I broke into the Laufenberg headquarters.
I don't have all the facts. That's why I'm asking you. I'd like you to furnish them, just like.
So where exactly did you hear this at?
Why? Well, I know you've harassed people in the past, and I'd rather not have you do that.
I've harassed people.
Yes,
I'm not asking for your name or anything.
Yes.
Where exactly did you hear this from?
Former UW Eau Claire students.
From
Wait.
Republican, from some Republican left-wing radicals, or
No.
from the Plombaum camp, or where exactly did
Why
this
do I
come
have to be associated with
Why don't you just call Wayne Laufenberg?
I like to
Why don't you call Wayne Laufenberg and ask him?
well issues.
Why don't you just call Wayne Laufenberg and ask him if
That's
I
who-
broke into his headquarters? It's total baloney. The guy's just, he's just playing games, Fred.
Here, I see here there's also from the Wanderer, evangelicals show solidarity. More than 50 evangelical pastors and their flocks have joined the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights in protesting the Disney Miramax movie Priest through Nebraska and Iowa, virtually eliminating the possibility that the film will be shown in any theaters there.
Well, that's amazing, Fred.
Well,
Fred, didn't you and
gotta
I-
admire. You got to admire them. At least they're standing up for what they believe is right.
Fred, you got a brain on your shoulders. Didn't you and I work in a Laufenberg campaign day and night?
Yes.
Worked our fingers to the bone?
Right.
So why is some left-wing Republican radical down there from the college, probably some front man for the CPR or somebody, calling up with that trash, and then they don't have any facts or figures to back it up?
Right.
We'll have to get Wayne on the show to clarify that. Okay, Freddie. I think we heard a call coming in there, but I was going to finish this about the Republicans down in Madison appearing to try to throw a wrench in campaign finance reform. So it's no real surprise. It says Republicans generally don't like public campaign financing. It's too limiting. So it's no real surprise that Assembly Republicans adopted a plan that would cripple Wisconsin's public finance system for state elections. Currently, taxpayers can designate on their income tax $1 donation. Saying yes does not change their tax liability. Under the proposal worked out in secret, taxpayers would be asked whether they want to designate the money from their own refund. State dollars no longer would be used. The Legislative Fiscal Bureau estimates that the change could cut funding for the state campaign fund from $365,000 down to $144,000, a 60% drop. Gail Shea from the Election Board says 10% of taxpayers now opt to earmark $1 for the campaign fund. Public campaign financing allows for a more diverse group of candidates, not just those few millionaires or folks with millionaire friends. Public financing also opens up the field so that challengers can mount real campaigns against entrenched incumbents who have built up war chests, not only of money, but of power and favors as well. That sounds like Steve Gunderson. At the very least, taxpayers should be given a choice. Do they want the contribution to come from the state fund or from their own refund? Surely some civic-minded people would part with their own money for such a cause. That's from the Milwaukee Sentinel editorial, Friday, June 23rd, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, one of my campaign issues in the campaign last year when I was running for Congress is to cut out all this funny money that flows into these campaigns from these so-called lobbyists and stuff, Fred, these legal bribists that come in and bribe elected officials and buy them off.
I think it's the only way that you can answer labor. Labor puts in all kinds of money into the campaigns.
Sure
They do it independently.
Sure
and
they do, Fred.
That's not going to stop them.
That's why WEAC buys and sells school boards all over the state.
That's right, but that,
What if you cut them off? Then they couldn't do it.
how are you going to stop them?
You stop that kind of donation.
What they do it is they do it independently. They do it outside of the political party. They do it on their own, etc., through their own organization, which is set up to do that.
I guarantee you, Fred, if WEAC got their wings clipped so that they couldn't throw
Well, how are
big
you
money.
going to clip them? Has anybody proposed they clip them?
Yes, and there has been campaign reform set up before out in Washington and in Madison, and it seems to get knocked down by Republicans.
But it doesn't do the job. That's why it was knocked down.
Well, anything's better than nothing, Freddie.
Nothing.
You got to start somewhere.
Nothing is better than nothing.
Well, then the incumbents are going to keep getting elected
All
95%
right, they're
of
going
the
to get
time.
elected. You got to get good candidates to get out and make a campaign against them.
Not when you're up against that wall, Freddie. I don't care how good you are. You got to be a multimillionaire like Cole to fight them.
Well, there was another man named Proxmire who ran without being a multimillionaire, and he got out there and he did it on little or nothing.
He was an aberration.
He did it, though.
He was
It can be done.
He was a blip on the political history. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Charlie. I heard you talk about the Leader Telegram a little while ago, and I found an article in there that I thought was kind of interesting. And it was two doctors from Harvard Medical School that said that marijuana is a healing drug. And they were talking about trying to get it legalized for medical reasons. What is your opinion on this?
It's been used for glaucoma, and you can already get a prescription for.
Cancer.
They say here that there's only 8 people in the United States that can get this prescription, though.
Well, from what I understand, the government grows its own and packages it in tobacco, cigarette-type packages and dispenses it through prescriptions.
So you think this is a safe drug to use
No, that's
for medical reasons, or?
what you're saying.
No, I'm asking you, do you think it should be used for medical reasons, or once it's illegal,
I
it
guess
should be
in
totally
cases
illegal?
of cancer and glaucoma and chemotherapy, the ravages of chemotherapy, it has relieved some of the pain, but I'm sure morphine would relieve some of the pain too, and I guess it has relieved the pressure in
Well, isn't morphine, like, highly addictive?
people's eyes
Yes.
with glaucoma. But that still doesn't mean that you want to legalize it. We got until you take care of tobacco and alcohol. Why do you want to bring another drug that has
I
questions?
wasn't saying you should legalize it. I just wanted to know if you think that it should be used for medical purposes. Is it that helpful?
I don't know. Maybe there needs to be more research before they jump into legalize it.
Okay. I have another question for you. I saw you hold up that shirt earlier that a viewer sent in for you, and I was wondering what's on the shirt that you're wearing now. I can't make it out. Little
It
pictures of something, but I can't really see
says
what
America
they are.
Online. It's a computer service.
Oh,
As a
okay.
matter of fact, the Leader Telegram /Ichabod has an address on there, and their address online, if you want to ever write an editorial or email through the internet, is LeaderTele, LeaderTele @AOL.com. Same service that I subscribe to.
I did want to say, though, I thought you got a bit defensive with that other caller that called in not too long
This
ago.
guy's been calling in for a year. He's from the Young Communist Youth League out there at the college, and he keeps bringing up the same old dead issue about me being busted for marijuana 17 years ago. And now he's trying to throw a new wrinkle into it by bringing it up that supposedly he heard a rumor that I broke into the Laufenberg campaign headquarters, when if it wasn't for Fred and me and a handful of other people, Laufenberg wouldn't even have won his first primary. It's totally ridiculous, totally false. It's just a red herring that some leftists out of the CPR and the Communist Youth League are bringing up.
Okay. I don't want you to feel that all the students at the university are like that, though.
Well, we know they're not, because not all of you have been drugged down by the ravages of OBE and the terrible public school systems in certain parts of the states that are bought and sold by WEAC through these phony campaign financial dealings and buying off people. And I still say, Fred, if WEAC gives $1,000 to a candidate, by God, he better answer to him, or it'll be the last $1,000 he gets.
Right, then he's got to do that, and somebody has got to give the money to the other candidates that run, or they won't be elected.
Just look at Tyson Foods, the chicken pluckers down there from Arkansas. Threw money around like drunken sailors and bought off all kinds of people.
Okay, well, I'm going to go, but I just want to say I think Fred's looking pretty snappy today.
I know, you know,
Thank
his face is clear enough, too.
It is,
He's
it is,
taking
very
some
nice.
new medicine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I see here is another article from the paper. Document is ideologically unbalanced. The draft document produced at the United Nations Beijing Conference on Women is ideologically unbalanced, said Pope John Paul II spokesman, Dr. Joaquin Navarro Vale. And the 120-page document on the fattest notions of feminism current in the West that do not take due account of the values of women in the large majority of world countries. And Navarro Vales noted that the word gender appears 300 times, sex and sexuality more than 300 times, what mother and motherhood were only
Okay.
used 10 times.
Okay, we got a call, Fred.
Good.
You know, Fred, in one sentence, what does that mean?
Well, in other words, that is, it's not supporting all the women of the United States. It's supporting that small minority that are feminists.
Fred, you know, you remember St. Patrick's Cathedral
Yeah,
and what happened out there?
yeah.
Well, a Catholic lobbying group is demanding that the Gay
Right.
Pride Parade be redirected in a new direction. And they
Right.
sent that demand to Mayor Rudolph Giuliani.
Dr. Donahue.
Okay,
William
go
A.
ahead, caller, you're
Donahue
on the air.
is the one who made
Yes.
Why are you such a jerk to everyone?
What are you talking about? I've been on this show for what now, 20, 25 years? And I get some radical left-wing CPR, pro-homosexual, pro-abortion nut-wing case calling up over a year and keeps trying to insinuate stuff that he has no proof of. So who's getting radical?
You.
Don't let looks deceive you.
Fred, don't die on me, buddy.
Well, you know, he puts those gumdrops in his mouth before the show starts, and then he starts coughing. If he just leave well enough alone, he'd be just fine.
Yeah.
Now, we learned something on Fred's show the other night. When he goes like this, he's mad, so watch out.
I think he's wiping the cum off his palm.
Well, Fred, there's another fine example of I don't know what. Well, you know, Fred, I know you like John Stormer, and I noticed, Fred, you've kind of boiled down your presentations now down to this Catholic newspaper you're pushing all the time.
Well,
Do you have anything else you read?
That there. I got here, Helms and Shelby support family contract by introducing legislation. And Senator Shelby is scheduled to introduce Prison Work Act of '95, requiring prisoners to work
Okay, Fred,
40
time to go.
8 hours a week.
You've got a caller or not?
Yeah.
We got about 10 seconds.
I was wondering why you're being so mean to Fred. I think Fred should kick your ass, you fat.
Okay, Freddie, there's another fine example of the Communist Youth League. Fred, we're out of time, so we want to thank the viewers for tuning in once again to the beautiful, the one and the only, the Cow Report, right here on Public Access Channel 11. We'll see you next Monday night. Adios, amigos.